what I don't do. I don't clip coupons, I don't buy in bulk, and I don't have a grocery store membership because it's a whole lot simpler, cheaper, and healthier to do what I do instead. In this month's Pantry Chat, I'm going to show you how I prepare healthy main meals, stock up on meal starters, create delicious homemade sauces, bottle my own juices, and even satisfy our sweet tooth for half of what a family of my size pays for weekly at the grocery store. So cozy in because this month's Pantry Chat is packed. Now, I've already emailed you your grocery guide. It's 8 pages this month, which includes a comprehensive list of all the fruits and vegetables that are in season this month, along with notes on how to select the freshest produce. Now, this far column is where you're gonna mark your preservation plan. Because honey, we're building our menus this month strictly around what's in season because that's what's gonna be the cheapest at the grocery store. And in addition to eating it fresh, you need to think about, are you gonna can it, freeze it, ferment it, dehydrate it, whatever, so that you have enough to last when you can no longer source it inexpensively or grow it yourself. I'm sharing at least 9 recipes in this month's Pantry Chat, but 4 other recipes are included in your grocery guide on half sheets of paper that you can just easily cut in half and tuck into your recipe box or binder. So like I said, you can sit back and relax. And if you haven't done so, use the link in the description so I can send it straight over to you. And yes, it includes links for the previous month's grocery guides as well. The savviest shoppers are all about seasonal eating because those are the crops that have the lowest transportation cost and are abundant right now, which equates in savings to you. And the spring season gives you a smorgasbord of options. So let me start by reading off the vegetables that you're gonna wanna meal plan around this month, which include artichokes, arugula, asparagus, beets, carrots. I've got 2 recipes in this video for you. Celery, endive, fava beans, kale, lettuce, potatoes, got a recipe for those, radishes, spinach, sunchokes, spring onions, which you should buy at the store and then stick them in the garden and then they're gonna grow back clear through fall. Turnips, I showed you the turnip mash a couple of months ago. Leeks, parsnips, onions, kale, chard, collard greens, I've got those growing out back, and fennel. The fruits get even tastier and include apples, cherries, grapefruit. I've got several recipes for oranges in this video to show you. Kiwi, kumquat, lemons, limes, mangoes. We preserved those in last month's Pantry Chat. Papayas, pineapple, and strawberries. See, I told you, you've got options. Now all you're gonna see me do is take some basic kitchen staples along with what I've bought on this list to show you some quick meals that you can get out on the table. And I'm also gonna show you how you can use these same items to preserve them so that you can build up your own pantry even on the busiest of weeknights. Let's start out with a delicious cabbage recipe that will fill you up on nutrition and taste using whatever you have on hand.
This dinner recipe usually starts with the rice of your choice, but I'm swapping that out with cauliflower rice. It's easy to make just by pulsing it in a blender for a few seconds. Next, you'll take a head of cabbage and then locate the core and cut about a ½ inch around it so that you can remove it. Add the cabbage to a pot of boiling water for about 5 minutes, and in the meantime, chop up some onion and add that to a skillet. This recipe is very adaptable, so on this go around, I'm using up some clearance ground turkey and ground chicken that I found for $2.50, but you can also use canned beef, beans, or potatoes. While the meat is cooking, I'm returning back to the pot of cabbage to remove the outer leaves that have likely tenderized by now. They'll fall off pretty easily, and a pair of tongs makes this an easy job. Repeat this every 3 to 4 minutes until you reach the center, and be sure to set the leaves aside to cool. Now take your brown meat or whatever you're using for your filling, your onions and cauliflower rice, and give everything a good mix and season with a little bit of salt and pepper. Grab a leaf and then add a couple of spoonfuls of your mixture into the leaf. And then after you fill it, you're just going to roll it up like a burrito and then place it in a baking dish or a cast iron skillet. In case you were wondering, these freeze very well, so feel free to make batches of them at a time like I am. Now this version is a low carb option, and I loved being able to put 2 veggies on our plate, cabbage and cauliflower. Just so you know, perfection at this step is not required because however you roll it up, you're going to place these cabbage rolls in a warm oven to bake for another 15 minutes, which further tenderizes the outer leaves and forms it into place. When the time's up, you're going to pull them out of the oven and go ahead and plate everything up. Now this is where you're going to want to take some spaghetti or marinara sauce and spoon it over the top. Trust me on this one, okay? After you spoon your marinara sauce on top, you're going to dollop with some sour cream. Oh, don't skip this step. This dish is a winning combination of flavor and texture and nutrition that comes together without too much fuss. You'll find this recipe in this month's grocery guide. This recipe will really remind you of stuffed pasta shells without the carbs. You are going to love this 30-ish minute start to finish dish.
Now don't forget that April is typically your last season to catch navel oranges and blood oranges in season and typically reasonably priced. And you will absolutely need them for these next two recipes.
I grabbed a combination of red oranges, which are very sweet, and standard oranges because I've been wanting to make my own spicy Asian orange sauce, which pairs well with vegetables, fish, and meats like chicken and pork. Plus, you get a chance to eliminate the additives that the grocery store shelf versions add. I think the secret is to use plenty of orange zest, being sure to avoid sanding down to the bitter white pith part. Then juice the oranges, and you can totally use frozen orange juice for this recipe too. I then like to save the peels and either soak them in vinegar to use as a cleaner or simmer them in water with cinnamon and cloves for a natural air freshener. Then you're going to add your juice to a pan, and then you're going to go ahead and add your zest. And I'm just dunking my cups in my orange juice so I don't leave any of the zest in the dish. And you're going to allow that to come to a simmer. Then take an onion, dice that up, and add it to the pan. This is a savory sweet sauce, so I like to combine brown and white sugar. Then you'll add some ground mustard, ginger. I'm using ginger paste because I don't always have fresh ginger on hand. And then a few tablespoons of garlic, apple cider vinegar, and a splash of soy sauce. Amino acids also works too. You can also add a bit of green curry paste, red chili flakes, pepper, and a little bit of rice vinegar. Whoa, this smells so amazing, y'all. Now, just remember that the canning safety guidelines do not approve the use of thickening agents like cornstarch for this recipe. So you'll want to add that when you actually go to cook with your sauce. And that is no big deal since I've been able to make my own shelf-stable sauce with just a few ingredients catered to my taste. Doesn't this just look beautiful? After adding your lids and rings, you'll place your jars in a boiling water bath for 20 minutes. Full instructions for this recipe are also in your grocery guide. By the way, I like using this magnetic large print timer because my oven timer is low and I often forget to use my cell phone timer. It's nice and loud, so I can hear it all throughout our townhouse. After 20 minutes, remove your jars to cool on a towel undisturbed for a minimum of 12 and up to 24 hours. Another meal starter is complete.
All right, so in this next recipe, we're going to combine the sweet citrusy taste of oranges with fennel. And the overall tasting experience is refreshing, bright, and uniquely aromatic. Take a look.
This delicious one-pan meal bursts with the flavors of spring. Combine minced garlic with a bit of olive oil, unrefined sea salt, and pepper, and then an herb of your choice. Thyme, rosemary, or basil are perfect. Give that a good mix and then grab your fennel bulbs. Here's what fennel looks like. It has feathery lobes and a robust bulb that I think tastes like a cross between an onion and celery, but slightly sweet. This recipe will use the bulb, so remove the fronds, which I'm going to use to make fennel-flavored vegetable stock, and then you're going to slice the bulb and add it to your cast iron skillet. Next, you'll take 1 to 2 oranges and thinly slice them and place them over the fennel. This will lend a sweet citrus flavor, and the rinds are tender and tasty enough to eat. Now, grab your chicken thighs and just dunk them into your garlic herb mixture and place them on the top of the fennel orange mix. Don't you just love a one-pan meal that you can just plop in the center of your table? Alright, so you'll bake this up for about 30 minutes and then you'll remove this pan of deliciousness from the oven and plate it up. The tender chicken thighs are complemented by the equally tender fennel and orange slices, and you've got an award-winning taste combination that was pretty effortless on your part. This recipe is also in your grocery guide, and I hope that you will give it a try.
If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingafarmgirl.com. I'm here to help you start canning and preserving your own ingredients from scratch and share ways to create a home can pantry your family will love. We are not done with oranges just yet. Now remember in last month's pantry chat that I shared that it was frozen food month? Well honey, that applies not only to the fruits and vegetables that we stock up on, but also beverages like orange juice. When I see a sale on frozen orange juice, I can it and put it right on my shelf where it doesn't take up all my freezer space. Better yet, I never have to wait for it to thaw out. If you've never canned a beverage before, start with canning orange juice because it doesn't get any easier than this.
Frozen orange juice is cheaper than refrigerated orange juice, and both the price and availability can fluctuate a lot across the year, which is why I love how canning allows me to grab and stock while the getting is good. Take your cans of defrosted juice and bring to a boil for 10 minutes, then pour it into jars. I like pint size because you're still going to add water to this when you make it. Canning frozen orange juice in a water bath canner is a tested and reliable recipe from the National Center of Home Food Preservation due to the high acidity of the juice. After the jars have submerged in boiling water for 20 minutes, allow them to cool and test your lids to ensure that they're sealed. See, I told you it doesn't get any easier than this.
I'm telling you that in-season carrots taste delicious, especially this time of year. They're naturally at their sweetest, and I love having them on hand for soups, stews, and salads. That's why I'm jarring up as many as I can, and so should you.
I so very love canning my veggies in chicken or veggie broth, so I'm bringing some of what I already had in the fridge to a boil. Even the baby carrots like this will be on sale this month. I paid right at 60 cents for a 1-pound bag. Dump in your carrots and then let them blanch for a couple of minutes. And then you're going to spoon them into jars. That's all the prep that you're doing. Next, you're going to ladle over your delicious broth, which could also be a brown sugar sauce if that's your preference. And since the carrots are a low acid food, you'll process your jars in a pressure canner.
What does beef stew, shepherd's pie, most soups, dumplings, and curry have in common? That's right, they both use carrots and potatoes, which is why it's another winning combination for you to can this month.
It's still cheaper to buy full-size carrots, but when I can them, I like to peel the skin, which can turn bitter when cooked, and I want their natural sweetness to shine through. Now I'm absolutely going to save these peels to feed to my worm bin, or add to my compost buckets, or even to make my next batch of stock. I'm again adding my carrots to a pot of chicken stock. And one thing that you want to do with this recipe is stick with a low starch potato like red or Yukon Gold, because they're the most hardy varieties that hold up best to the pressure of canning. Now, it's not that you can't use russet potatoes, but because of the higher starch content, they disintegrate over time in the jar. And oh, if you're leaving the skins on like I am, because these are petite potatoes, you absolutely must wash the skins extremely well. Otherwise, just peel them. Man, it feels so good to get these meals on the shelf. Jarring up the flavors of spring is looking pretty tasty, isn't it?
since I work in a school district, I had 1 week off for spring break. And this is normally the time of year where my husband and I take the 3.5-hour-ish drive to Charlottesville, Virginia, and stay at a cabin just to, get away for 2 or 3 days. Well, his work schedule has been nutso, and it is going to be quite some time before he can take off any time from work. So I told Mom and Dad that Thor and I would come see them. That's right, we were going to take a road trip to Florida. Now, I'm not sure how many of y'all caught on, but a couple of months ago, we replaced our 25-year-old truck that just broke down on us. And that was the vehicle that we used to haul things and that my parents would ride around in when Trey and I are at work. Now, I drive a 2005 Toyota Corolla that we've had for 7 years, and my husband drives a 2001 Nissan Altima that we've had for 14 going on 15 years. Now, cosmetically, they look like well-worn cars, but we keep up on the maintenance. In fact, we have a checking account that is a sinking fund for the maintenance that we contribute to every month. And even when we paid off our cars, we kept acting like we had a car payment. And we did this so that when the time would inevitably come to replace one of our vehicles, we would already be in the habit of still kind of having a car payment plus a stockpile that would dramatically lower what we would owe on the car, or hopefully just be able to pay cash for it. And since farm life is in our future, it just made sense to get a truck versus the SUV that we had, which was gifted to us. My husband really does his research when it comes to researching and selecting used vehicles, and we were not in any rush because I think y'all, our truck broke last summer and we just got the truck at the end of, was it early December? Yeah. Either the end of November or early December. Anyways, but we finally found something. It's a 2015 Ford F-150 and it drives nice. I don't know about y'all, but we are a family that names our cars. And so my car is a red Corolla and I call her Little Red. And then my husband drives a silver Nissan Altima and his car is called the Silver Knight. And then my dad's truck, y'all know, we named her Big Blue. And so when we initially got the truck, Trey and I were like, okay, like what's the name? And I was like, okay, we're gonna have to give it some time. Like the name will like come to us. And I was thinking, since we like to include like the color of the vehicle in the name, I was like, I think we're gonna call her the Silver Lady, but I don't know, like, is that it? And I just like, I wasn't like quite sure, because like, you know when you know. So my dad was also up shortly after we got the car, and when he had driven it around, and then like a day later, we were having a conversation about something, and he was like, and then Trey was getting ready to go take the truck out, and my dad was like, oh, so you're gonna go take the Gray Wolf? And we were like, that's it, that's the name. So in case you were wondering, we have the Gray Wolf. So I told Mom and Dad that Thor and I would just drive down there in the truck. Now, normally, when I was in college, I used to be able to make that 12-ish hour drive. But more recently, when I've gone down, I like to stop in Lumberton, around the Lumberton, North Carolina area, and it just breaks the day up very nicely. But Dad gave me a call and said, hey, what do you think about if I fly up and then we just drive down together? And yeah, I said, why not? And better yet, I would drive down with Dad and return with Mom. Now, my weekday breakfast is always some version of oatmeal. I bake it, freeze it, fry it, you name it, because oats are the only thing that stick to my ribs until my lunch break and won't have me, rummaging through my lunch at 10 o'clock. Well, Dad loves these oatmeal muffins that I make, and I thought that they would be perfect for our early morning road trip. Now, the sweet potato carrot combination is my favorite, but Dad absolutely loves that classic combination of cranberry and orange zest. And since I already had oranges on hand, I just went ahead and made those too.
I'm showing you two versions, both of which are in your grocery guide. This version starts with sweet potatoes, which will need to be boiled. So while we're waiting on that, let's make the muffin base. You've got to stick with old-fashioned oats, and then you'll add some cinnamon and baking powder, and then a little bit of salt and milk to make the batter sticky. And then you're gonna add brown sugar. Now, this is a tad more than what I usually use, but I wanted to empty the last bit and wash this container out. And then you're gonna add some vanilla extract, maple syrup, and then just mix everything together. Okay, so this is the base, and now I'm going to separate the mix with my dad's fixins and my fixins. Dad's gets the chopped walnuts, craisins, orange juice, and orange zest. See, we are using oranges galore this month. Whoops, let me grab my sweet potatoes because they are ready. And now I'm going to just peel them and add them to my muffin mix. And then to this bowl, I'm also going to grate some carrots, which again, I already have plenty of this month. And then I'll just mix everything. I just love, love, love the combination of carrots and sweet potatoes. Now look, this is a real kitchen, so I had to set aside that spoon and just use clean hands. These muffins are hearty and dense and are gonna stay on your stomach, and I just love this about this recipe. Y'all know that I love my silicone muffin tins because they make paper liners unnecessary and clean up easier than tins, so you just scoop the mix in. And now I actually froze some of the batter so that the next time I go to make these muffins, all I have to do is just bake them right up. And you're gonna place these in the oven to bake, and then what comes out are these extremely, like I said, hearty, dense muffins that will fill you up with, honestly, just two. These are tasty, delicious, and better yet, homemade.
We left around 4:30 a.m. that morning, and I went ahead and volunteered for the first leg of the stretch, and leaving that early meant that we made excellent time. I got us all the way to Buc-ee's in North Carolina, and if you have never been to a Buc-ee's gas station, it is an experience like no other.
Yeah, this gas station probably has, I think, like 100 pumps, and the best price that you'll find on gas along 95.
All right, do you guys see this? I do not remember the last time I paid $2.99 for gas.
Inside, there's a food court, convenience store, lots of bathrooms, and yeah, we were almost on our way to Florida.
Now, if you caught last month's pantry chat, you saw me in a sore spot. To bring you up to speed, one of my townhouse neighbors that are 2 doors down moved, and man, I just miss Kevin and Monica and their 2 littles so much. And while I'm thankful to have ways to keep in touch with folks at a distance, your day-to-day in-person relationships are even that much more special. And this similarly describes the friendships that my parents have with their neighbors, but one in particular really stands out. About 6 years ago, Mr. Ed relocated from Colorado to Florida after his wife passed to be closer to his daughter and son-in-law, who are my parents' neighbors. Mr. Ed and my dad struck up a fast friendship, bonded by their previous careers in the military, their love of fishing, and their very complementary personalities. If my dad doesn't pick up his phone when I call, it's only because of 2 reasons. He's either out cutting the grass or fishing with Mr. Ed. Ed is like a serious fisherman. Those 2 go on excursions and everything. They're best friends. Now here's one thing I've learned about retirement. For some folks it means you speed up, not slow down, and they are both enjoying the youth of their retirement at 84 and 65 respectively. Dad and I were out running errands one day, but on our way back home we decided to see if it was a good time to drop by. Ed was, of course, already out on the dock fishing, so we parked at his place and drove the cart over. Now, not more than a minute or 2 after we walked down the pier, the fishing line started pulling. We caught something, and it was big.
It's a cat. Is that a cat?
Cat. That's one for the board. Woo! Way to go. How you feel? How you feel? Great.
All right. All right.
Oh, wow.
See, I told you we catch today. There are some big fish around here.
Yes. Yeah, that's a big one. Wow. Wow,
Yeah,
Dad.
bring it in so it don't start trying to flop around and get away.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Mr. Ed was super excited that he get to put his name on the leaderboard. And by the way, he's held the top score each year. I don't know how many times I'll get a text from my dad with a picture of him, Ed, and the fish they've caught. Believe it or not, others have given up on this spot because they say they can't catch anything. But not Mr. Ed and my dad. These two just chuckle and keep score of what they regularly catch at this spot. Man, I just love how thousands of catches later, every catch still has the excitement of being your very first one.
Ed says I bring him good luck. What can I say? It was a beautiful day, a warm 75 degrees with low humidity and a cooling breeze blowing. I mean, it was nice being out. Now, I believe the catfish was maybe 22 inches long and almost 8 pounds. And this area has everything you need to catch and clean your fish, which is exactly what Ed did next.
To the river we go. Leave our worries on the shore and drift away. On the river we know. Sometimes the perfect words are never said.
Now, for many of us that live at a distance from our family for one reason or another, having friends that are in close proximity to you, it just makes life feel so good having that person that you can go out with and share fun times with and make memories. And for some of you that have been with me on this journey for a while, you'll know that earlier this year, I think it was in October, in October, I had shared that my parents are seriously considering returning back to Maryland. And on the times that they've been up since, they have in fact looked at homes. But one of the things that I know has a pull would be my dad's very special relationship with Ed, and my mom also has a very close friend and in Florida. And as much as I want my parents to be here, I understand that it still has to be in their timing, right? Because these are people that we love and cherish, so much. And it's not easy to move from that. When we moved from Maryland originally, when I was back in college, my brother was in high school many years ago, that was due to my dad accepting a job position there. And so those moves are kind of different when you're forced to move, for example, a military move. So I just wanted to kind of present that to you all, because when you see those two together, I mean, it is the loveliest feeling. And so we'll see. However things work out, they will. But I just thought, because I was still feeling very raw, the neighborhood is so quiet. I miss the kids, y'all. I miss them so much. But anyways, it just really made me just appreciate so much more. And I have always been appreciative. But even more so, you start to realize how close the people, not even that there's a lot, y'all, right? I don't have, of the people that I know, right, outside of work professionally. I work in a school. And then there are a few families. I go to like a very large church. And so there are a couple of other couples that we kind of know. But then like my neighbors are really important, right? I have a handful of other friends, and you don't need a whole lot of folks, right? If you're the right people in your life. And so just hug your friends, tell them how much you care for them. And if you've got even one or two folks in your life, you're blessed. Now, Ed lives in a retirement community, and my dad knows like everyone there. He's so sanguine, and he's known as the young guy, and I know he loves that. I had a pretty relaxing trip. I love hanging with my parents. They are my best friends, and y'all have not met him yet, but my brother came over for dinner. I think you'll get a kick out of this question I asked him.
All right, so we have a new face here that you have not seen before. It might look familiar. This is my brother, Robert. He is, even though, how long have you been in Florida now? Oh my gosh.
I should have been.
But we are still representing Maryland all day, every day. All right, so, brother, what has the journey been like as I have become a farm girl?
Right before your very eyes.
It's unexpected, but not unforeseen, I guess. So the roots were always there.
Yeah.
I just didn't know whether you would. I couldn't imagine that you would lean into them.
Okay.
But yeah, the indications that this could be a possibility aren't, it's not inconceivable that this has been your journey. But yeah, it's I couldn't have imagined that you would have leaned in at, definitely not this far. But it's like, okay, yeah, this is within the realm of possibility,
Dad! Stop photobombing! Oh my gosh! Oh!
Hey, can't help myself.
Very nice.
You can, you just choose not to.
Oh, Robert, I'm serious. I can't help myself, man.
I believe in you. I believe in you.
So on the way back up to Maryland, Mom and I took things at a much slower pace. She's not ready to handle the gray wolf, so I did the driving and we stopped in North Carolina at a very charming Airbnb.
Don't you just love a homey style? Jill struck the perfect combination of antique charm and functionality, and her property was equally as stunning. I wish we could have stayed longer.
The host name was Jill, and she's a backyard homesteader, and it was the perfect landing after a long day on the road. We got back home the next day and then unpacked, and then it was time to cook up the catfish.
There are some meals that are extra special to me, kind of like how some folks feel about their Christmas or Thanksgiving meal. But this meal would be a reminder of the wonderful day that I spent with my dad and Ed, the joy on all of our faces, and how he filleted it with care. I served this catfish with a side of home-canned succotash. My papa would grow the largest lima beans in his garden, and this side reminds me of him. As I'm becoming a farm girl, I'm enjoying seeing how, not all yet, but more and more meals include meat that I or my friends have harvested, veggies grown on a small family farm, or herbs and fruits that I've harvested from my own backyard. Meals like this are proof that my dreams are coming true.
Good eating. Now let's circle back to a few clearance items that you should absolutely snag this month. So after the Easter holiday, you can typically expect markdowns on the following items: Easter themed chocolate and candies, decorated Easter cookies, marshmallow peeps, chocolate bunnies and eggs, ham if the stores have excess inventory. The same is true for lamb if they have excess inventory. Easter themed baked goods such as bread and rolls that you can freeze, eggs both decorated and plain, and then you can also find things like specialty cheeses and charcuterie items that are often used for Easter entertaining on clearance, and Easter cards. Y'all, I snagged my Easter cards for 19 cents the day after Easter. I love sending holiday cards, but everybody on my list always gets last year's versions, and nobody's bothered by this or even knows because the sentiment is just the same. So I'm keeping these cards that I just found on deck for next year. And because I do this for all of my holiday cards, get them after the holiday has passed, and then I just put them in an accordion folder where I just pull them out, at the top of the month and mail them out. But yeah, because I do this, the postage is often more expensive than the card and the envelope. When do you ever hear of that? And this is also the time of year that I also start to stock our summer fun box, and it's just a box that's filled with goodies that we enjoy on summer nights where we're grilling or out by the fire pit. We especially enjoy making s'mores, and with the Easter holiday peeps on sale right now and the chocolate, now is the time to start stocking up on that stuff because it's going to be super cheap. In fact, you won't find a better price until the Halloween candy goes on sale in November. Now let me show you 2 ways that you can use your peep marshmallows. For example, did you know that you can make your own marshmallow fluff, which is way cheaper than the store stuff?
Have you ever heard the motto that says everything in moderation, including moderation? Well, that's what this treat is. My neighbors that recently moved had 2 boys, and we get together in our backyards nearly all spring and summer long to roast s'mores, and there are about 8 kids under 10 in our cul-de-sac, and you never know who's going to stop by. This recipe is also in your grocery guide. It's super simple. You're essentially just whipping up cream cheese with powdered sugar and melted peeps. I'm making a small quantity to have at the ready, and when we're out, I don't worry about making more.
If you're not ready to use your marshmallows right away, did you know that you can vacuum seal them?
You can vacuum seal marshmallows and they will stay fresh and fluffy for months. Start by taking clean and dry jars and placing the marshmallows inside. Now, they will kind of meld together, but will still pull apart when you go to use them. So, yep, go ahead and pack them in there. Then place your lid on the can and take the Food Saver vacuum lid over it. I'm nervous about buying the electric vacuum because the reviews are mixed on how long they last. So I'm keeping it tried and true and old school, and I use a manual brake bleeder to pull out the oxygen. Hey, it's cheaper and gets you the same result. They sell for about $25 at an automotive store, and I've had mine for at least 6 years now. You want to pump until you get to at least 20 psi, and you will feel the resistance as you remove the air and get to this mark. And there you have it, a sealed jar, my friend. Okay, so let me show you that one more time. Goodness, thanks to the farm girls here on the channel, I almost forgot to tell you that using your countertop to pump the air out is so much easier, and your hands and your wrists will thank you, so definitely do it this way. Thanks, farm girls. All right, so now I've got marshmallows on the shelf that won't go stale over the next few months. Easy peasy.
Now that we have our marshmallows ready for s'mores and other desserts, let's make our own chocolate candy bars.
Have you seen chocolate bar prices? Yeah, insane. But I just paid pennies on the dollar. I'm going to break these bunnies up and melt them down in my crock pot on low for about 90 minutes. If looks matter to you, you're going to want to stir frequently so that your final product is very smooth. And you can also add a bit of coconut oil to make it shiny. Also, be sure to keep your lid tilted to avoid condensation buildup. You don't want that for this recipe. I've melted down chocolate for years, but this year I decided to get these silicone chocolate molds, which will store easily and work excellent for gifts or when I host. Prior to this, I've just used my red silicone muffin pans. So you're going to place a cutting board under the mold so you can lift it easier, and then you just spread your melted chocolate that nobody will know is from Easter on the molds. Maybe next year I'll get fancy and add my own nuts. Place this in the freezer for at least 3 hours. Y'all, it was super easy to remove the chocolate from the molds, and I get tickled by simple things, so seeing that I had made something look like a bar with bite-sized breakable pieces just got me too excited. I'm really gonna like these little molds. These bars will be perfect to add to recipes, used for desserts or gifts. They are thicker than store-bought bars and only cost me about 45 cents to make. These are going back in the freezer, so I just took some wax paper and individually wrapped them so that I have the bars ready for when I need to make s'mores.
And since we're talking thrift, and you know that I am an avid thrifter, let me show you my 2 finds that I found this month. Are you ready? My first thrift find was a beautiful vase that I found at the thrift store for under $7. It was actually, I think, $6.49. And it is just stunning. I mean, when you find an ornate vase, they're expensive. And so this vase is going to be perfect for the flowers that my neighbors gave me last month for my birthday. And y'all know that I just love the look of dried flowers. My home has many of them. And so I wanted to find a vase because these flowers I'm also going to keep just because, I mean, they're sentimental to me, and that's how I, decorate my home. And I feel they just look stunning. I saw that vase and it just spoke to me, right? Like you see these things in the store and you're like, oh yeah, you're coming home with me. Take a look.
I can't wait to show this arrangement to Monica when we meet up next month and in the coming years when I still have these flowers that will always, always bring me joy when I see them.
Second, I found something that I have been waiting for years now at a price that I was willing to pay. Even though I am a country girl at heart, one of the benefits of living outside of a major city right now is that I can find incredible deals off of Facebook Marketplace pretty regularly. I absolutely do not mind getting something that is gently used but is also significantly higher quality than paying for something new. So I've been looking for an oversized leather recliner, but on Facebook Marketplace, they either sell like this or they're at a price range that I just don't want to pay. A lot of them were like $500 and up. And there is not a piece of furniture other than our bed that costs $500 in my entire home. Well, I finally snagged one for $150 that just needed a little bit of TLC, and y'all, now it practically looks brand new. Be prepared to be blown away by this before and after.
Now, the chair itself was in good condition. It just had some stains on the arms from coffee mugs and regular signs of wear. So I found this leather recoloring balm. You've got to do your best to get the color that matches, and you just rub it into the cracks and crevices. Now, I did have to apply a few coats over several days, but let me show you how it went from looking like this to this. And this was the other side of the armchair. Yikes, right? And here's the side that I fixed. Yeah, talk about night and day. And oh, check out my dad's reaction. It's in the living room. It's pretty obvious.
Sit in the living room. Oh, you got me a chair.
Yes, I need you to try it.
You got me a chair.
I did. It's super nice. Guess how much I paid for it?
Oversized like this.
Yeah.
Probably about 400.
400? Lower. I have
250.
lower.
Oh my God. 125.
Oh, okay, 150. Yeah, Dad. Yeah. Exactly. From like this place in like Georgetown, Dad. I was in this fancy area in DC.
You know your daughter is teaching her dad how to shop and stuff.
This whole living room. Except
Yeah.
for the television.
I mean,
Everything in here.
Yeah, everything in here.
Everything in here.
Yeah, that chair is dangerous, Dad. It's our new.
This is nice.
Yeah,
This is nice.
it's really nice.
fancy.
And then actually, I'll show you a little bit of the before and after because I just did a little bit of touch up to it. But that, I was like, that's a nice chair.
This is.
Yeah, it's nice. I've created a 10-module video series that will show you how to start and maintain a worm farming system that's tailored to your needs. Whether you need a setup that is compact enough for your cozy kitchen, mid-sized for family ambitions, or even a large-scale earthworm operation if you've got a few acres of land. This course will be running live this year as I take you real time behind how I create over 400 pounds of compost a year to fertilize my garden using just my kitchen scraps. Worm castings inoculate your garden from pests, disease, and provide nutrients for your plants, innately giving them what they need and how much they need. This course even has a workbook that's over 120 pages with illustrated diagrams, photographs, and references, along with fun activities for the kiddos. Click in the link in the description box below to take a peek.
Need more recipe inspiration on how to get the most out of your preservation kitchen? Click on the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.